The Colombian government and revolutionary armed forces of Colombia have missed Wednesday's deadline to reach a final deal to end the longest war in Latin America.
Este compromiso fue suscrito por el propio comandante de las FARC. Sin embargo, eso no fue posible. Con toda honestidad, tenemos que informar a la opinión pública que en este momento subsisten diferencias importantes con las FARC sobre temas de fondo.
Despite agreeing on some key issues, the two sides have yet to reach a ceasefire deal which includes details of disarmament, but they say there will continue talks in Havana.
Actuamos en la idea de llegar a la construcción de un buen acuerdo para hacer del 2016 el año de la paz, el año del fin de la guerra en Colombia.
US Secretary of State John Kerry has met representatives from the government and the FARC separately in Havana. He urged them to redouble efforts to reach a peace deal. The United States has recognized the FARC as a foreign terrorist organization for nearly 20 years, but the negotiations aim to end the conflict by turning FARC from a rebel group into a political party. The conflict between the government and the rebels began in 1964. It has killed more than 200,000 people and displaced more than 5 million others. In September last year, the Colombian government and the FARC had agreed to reach a final deal within 6 months to end the 51-year war. The sides had set March the 23rd as the deadline.
Nos asiste la certeza de que al final de este 2016 los colombianos podremos contar con un protocolo de paz que nos permita propalar a los cuatro vientos. Terminó la guerra, terminó la guerra.
Even though a deal is yet to be finalised, the sides have come to an agreement on 4 points. The FARC will stop drug trafficking, the government will revise land rights and also pave the way for rebels to gain political participation. In October, Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos announced a bilateral ceasefire with the FARC rebels to begin on January the 1st this year. It was a turning point in the peace talks that had begun 3 years ago. FARC announced a unilateral ceasefire as of December 2014, which almost entirely stopped all fighting.
Todos los acuerdos en todos los temas tienen que tener un carácter bilateral. Deben partir de la igualdad de las partes en la mesa.
But despite a promising start, the unilateral ceasefire failed. Many factors are behind that. Government forces conducted military operations and airstrikes against FARC after 11 soldiers were killed in an ambush last April. The FARC announced it would suspend the unilateral ceasefire that May, and a smaller rebel group, the National Liberation Army known as ELN, hasn't joined the peace process and continues its attacks. The peace talks in Havana are now into their 3rd year, and it seems there are still many issues for the next round of talks on April the 4th to resolve.